What's up everyone, back for another beer review, and today I'll be doing yet another comparison review, this time between two beers from Keegan Ales, and they are out of Kingston, New York, and I have their Mother's Milk and their Joe Mama's Milk. So Mother's Milk is a milk stout that comes in at 5% alcohol by volume and 18 IBUs, while Joe Mama's Milk is a milk stout with coffee added, and it's also brewed with brown sugar. It comes in at 8% alcohol by volume and 40 IBUs at the time of review. I don't know exactly how old these bottles are because I could not find a bottled on date on either a bottle. However, I picked these up, I want to say it was late July or early August of this year, and I know the place that I bought it at, which was Beers of the World in Rochester, New York, they had just gotten these in within the past week. So I'm going to say that these bottles, both of them, are approximately 4 months old, give or take a couple of weeks. So I'm super excited about this review, and you might be questioning why I would be super excited about this review. And if you're not from New York State and you haven't been drinking craft beer for maybe 10, 15 years, you might not know about Keegan Ales. But back when I first started drinking craft beer, late 2009 throughout the early 2010s, Keegan Ales was popping off, and specifically this beer, I remember they also had an IPA, I think it was like Hurricane Kitty or something like that, but this is actually one of the first milk stouts that I ever had, even before Left Hand Milk Stout and Left Hand Milk Stout Nitro, and I absolutely love this beer. I had this beer for the first time back in like the 2010, 2011 range, and it was absolutely fantastic. I had this one about a year later, and I wasn't as thrilled. However, back then, I didn't like bitterness, and I really didn't drink coffee back then, so it had coffee, it's 8%, bit more bitter. It was a bit too much for me. I still didn't hate it, but this was superior. Now, the last time I had the regular Mother's Milk was probably around like 2014, 15. And I had this one specifically in 2015, and I liked this a lot more than the first time I had it. Now, my palate has come a long way in the 15 years since I've been drinking craft beer, and I am curious to see which one I prefer, but also if the quality of these beers are as good as I remember them being. Here in the Buffalo, New York area, we really don't see distro of their beers, hence why I'll pick both of these up in Rochester, and they were relatively fresh when I picked them up. I've been waiting to kind of do a side-by-side. I've waited long enough. So anyway, this one is essentially Mother's Milk, but it's imperialized because they brew it with a bunch of brown sugar, and then they also brew it with cold brew coffee from a local coffee roaster. So it's not so much a comparison as which one I enjoy more, but also I'm just curious to see how the quality of these two beers is after. I probably haven't had this one in over 10 years and this one in about 9. So yeah, anyway, this is both of these beers have been in my fridge since I grabbed them back in the summer. So I am hoping that they have held up quite well. I guess we'll see. I'm trying to think out the logo here. I don't even know how that goes. What is that? I don't know. I'm just going to put it like this because I don't know what the heck I'm looking at. And it's not staying on the corner. There we go. Anyway, we're going to give it a pour into the Captain Lawrence glass because why not? So we'll give this a pour first, then we'll get the other one. I'm only going to do about half pours on both of them. So it's poured out like a dark brown. Yeah, we'll do something like that. I don't want to pour the entire thing because at the end I want to do the cuvee, aka the covey, and I thought, why did I put this away? That I thought the best part and the best way to do that would be to not fill them directly to the top like I have been doing lately. So yeah, anyway, big dish glass, same size glasses more or less. Well, this is a little bit lighter, surprisingly, than the regular. So we'll do something like that. Are we kind of even with the pours? Yeah, we're right there. So throw this over here. Now, if you ask me now, based on my preferences nowadays, which one I'm going to enjoy more, this. It's 3% higher. It has coffee, brown sugar. Like, I just assume I'm going to like that a little bit more, but you never do know. So let's get a nose on the Mother's Milk. Yeah, smells like your typical milk stout. Slight roasted malt character. Some sweeter, like creamy chocolate, like a milk chocolate. And I've mentioned this before. If you watch the channel, you probably have heard me say this a lot with milk stout reviews. If you're new to the channel, basically when it comes to specifically milk stouts and say darker beers that have lactose in them, I always pick up on a little, I should say always, about 80 to 90% of the time I pick up on like a metallic note. Getting that right here, just a slight metallic tinge. It's not off-putting, but it just kind of makes me think of old school just milk stouts like this. There's a touch of coffee, again, roasted malt, milk chocolate, a little bit of little bit of a lightly roasted coffee. Maybe a touch of vanilla from the lactose. Earthy with a touch of floral hop character. Yeah, it smells really nice. It's not blowing me away, but again, you know, when I went nuts about this beer, again, I was just starting to get into craft beer and I didn't really know what the hell I was doing, but I remember drinking that and being like, wow, this is really good. And that beer specifically, and I think this one too, but I think the Mother's Milk was very highly rated on beeradvocate.com back then too. Like, you know, people were trading and they were trading for beers like out of New York State. Like this won awards in New York State and stuff. So people would seek this one out to try because it was a great milk stout. Whew. This isn't going to be fair. I probably should have got to these a little bit quicker. Again, they've been my friend. This has the green pepper vibe you get from old coffee in the nose. Yeah, just it's very slight. It's not like real bold of like a green pepper, but it's there. Underneath that, that was beautiful. Again, very reminiscent to this one. Creamy, like a milk chocolate into a dark chocolate. There is a nice like medium roasted coffee from the cold brew. Touch of vanilla, just like that. Don't smell the bigger ABV, but there is a little bit of a green pepper note. Yeah, so without that green pepper, I think I'd like the nose of this one a little bit more. Makes sense, 3% higher, brown sugar, whole 9. But taking consideration that green pepper tinge, I don't know how much I'm going to enjoy this one. But hey, we're doing this for science. You know, a lot of people talk about like freshness, especially of like IPAs and beers in general. Well, coffee beers are one of those it's not a style coffee beer, but you know, any kind of coffee beer, any kind of style with coffee in it, you know, you never know. You can have them, you know, in your fridge for 2-3 months. Coffee fades, coffee turns into green pepper. Maybe the coffee holds up. It is a crapshoot. Anyway, I want to get into the Mother's Milk, see if this is just as good as I remember from 10 plus years ago. Cheers, everyone. I'll be honest with you, that's still a fucking excellent milk stout. You know, you don't see just a lot of breweries just throw out a regular milk stout anymore. Like the days of, you know, left-hand milk stout, people losing their shit over it for the first time. Probably not where we are with craft beer nowadays. You know, there's always got to be other adjuncts and a bunch of other shit. Kind of like this one, you know, coffee, brown sugar. But for like a base milk stout at 5%, this is great. Body you would think would be, you know, 5%, maybe a little bit thin. No, it's like medium, touch over medium body. Really nice for the 5%. The mouthfeel is where the lactose shines in this one. It's soft, it's smooth, it's creamy. It's like mild to moderately carbonated. It's super smooth on the palate, velvety smooth with a nice creaminess. The mouthfeel is fucking, honestly, the body and mouthfeel on this one is bonkers good. The taste, it's pretty simplistic, kind of the nose carried over. For the most part, it's that, you know, mildly, I'd say roasted malt. There's a more in the taste, it's more of like a sweeter dark chocolate as opposed to milk chocolate. And then a little bit of like a mild coffee roast. Maybe a touch of fruitiness in here, like you could say some kind of dark fruit. That metallic note did not carry over the taste, thankfully. A lot of times it's just in the nose when it comes to milk stouts for me. A lot of times it doesn't carry over the taste. It did not here. And then on the second half of the palate, it finishes with this slight like earthy kind of floral hop character, very mildly bitter. This is pretty dry though. I'd say this is, you know, I'd say not quite full-on dry, but it's approaching it. So we'll say, you know, moderately dry, like semi-dry. But it does have a mild bitterness. It definitely leans sweet, and most milk stouts do have a little bit more sweetness to them. So I think stylistically, this is a fucking fantastic milk stout. It is. Even, you know, almost 15 years after the first time I had this one, we're at, what, 14 years since I had this, or like 13 and a half, 14 years. I mean, this is still just as good as I remember it, to be honest with you. 5%, you could crush a bunch of these. It's not too sweet to kind of impact the drinkability. Even though it's not super complex, there's a lot of beautiful notes that are they harmonize. They're very cohesive on the palate, and they work together in a beautiful harmony where they're not disjointed whatsoever. This is just a fucking great milk stout. Wow. I'm actually kind of surprised because so many beers that you revisit after not having for, you know, a long time, they don't hit you in the feels. Especially like just a 5% milk stout, it doesn't usually happen. Well, it happened here. Clean the palate, going for the Joe Mama's milk. And see, I mean, like I said, I'm curious to see if the green pepper carries over the taste. I hope it doesn't, because I kind of want to see what this one is compared to the base. So let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. Okay. Thank God, that the green pepper. I'll tell you what, I was super scared right up until the liquid hit my lips, because as I was bringing it in for that first sip, I swear to Christ, it was like someone was sauteing green peppers in front of me. Let me see if that happens again. That is the weirdest fucking thing ever. It's wild how the aroma sometimes translates to the taste and sometimes it doesn't. Like this, everything translates to taste except for the metallic note, which is the note that I didn't want. Exact same thing's happening here. Everything has translated over except for that green pepper note. So holy shit, I was so scared when I smelled that. And you know, I was like, this is gonna be a shitty side-by-side because this beer is compromised. The nose is compromised, don't get me wrong, but the taste is not. So we'll go back in body mouthfeel. Just like this, the body is beautiful. This has kind of a slightly, if this is medium, a touch over medium, this is like higher side of medium, maybe low full, but I'd say higher side of medium, medium. Definitely has a little bit of a bigger oomph there, being 3% higher. The mouthfeel, very similar to this one. Softer than you anticipate, mild to moderate carbonation. Very smooth on the palate, super creamy. This has a slightly better mouthfeel, I think, but this has a better body. Body and mouthfeel, just fantastic, both these beers. The taste, this is essentially that beer with like more of a coffee kick. Yeah, so forefront is, again, roasted malt, sweet, dark chocolate, and then while this had just like a lightly roasted kind of coffee feel to it, this has more like a moderately roasted coffee, or even if it's not moderately roasted, let's just say this is a lighter roasted coffee, it has a more intense kind of coffee character on the palate, and you know there's actual coffee in here because you do pick up on a coffee flavor that isn't right from the malts. It's actually coffee being used in here, cold brew. Again, very similar, these two, in the first half to 2/3 of the palate. On the finish though, this is much more bitter than the base, and it also has a little bit more of like a robust like hop character. It finishes with like I'd say like a firm bitterness, but it's a coffee, like kind of like a slight coffee bitterness, but also like a little bit of like a resinous floral hop quality. Definitely more bitter here. The dryness is about the same, semi-dry. Here's the beauty. I can't taste the alcohol in here. There's, again, if you just told me this beer was that beer with coffee, I'd be like, all right, I have no idea this is 3% higher. So that's very impressive from the standpoint of, you know, almost double the ABV, and it doesn't drink like that. There's, with both beers, no alcohol warming in my chest, nothing on the palate. This just has more of a like again, more of a bitterness, more of a coffee flavor. I'm not really picking up on the brown sugar. It was just pretty much bump up the ABV, and they state that on their website. These are both fucking really good. And again, I say don't go into reviews with preconceived notions. I remember what I thought about these, you know, 10 plus years ago. And then I pick up these bottles, which they were fresh, threw them in the fridge, waiting for a time to do a side-by-side, kind of forgot about them a little bit, come back to them, they're almost 4 months old. And outside of a little metallic tinge in the nose for the base and a green pepper kind of nose for the Joe Mama's milk, both of them are pretty flawless on the palate from what you kind of want out of these beers. Like, this is kind of wild how good both of these beers are. Whew. All right, rating. I think I'm gonna, so I always enjoyed the Mother's Milk better than the Joe Mama's Milk, but the last time I had this beer, I said it was better than it was. It's even better than I had it in 2015. However, when you take in consideration it's a 5% milk stout, nothing more, nothing less, this, my friends, is a fucking great milk stout, okay? A great milk stout. Stylistically, 5% milk stout, 4.75, okay? I have to give it a really high rating. Personal preference, I'm gonna go high 4.25 and go 4.3. This is still really tasty. First time I had it, I gave it a 4.5. And again, that's when I loved sweeter things, didn't like bitterness. So I was just this was in my wheelhouse. Even though this leans sweet, it's not cloying. I have to knock it down a little bit just because, again, it doesn't hit me in the feels like it did the first time. But I cannot sit here and argue that this is a fantastic milk stout. One of the best milk stouts I've ever had, up there with, honestly, Left Hand's milk stout. It's fucking phenomenal beer, plain and simple to me. I know they do like barrel age versions. I think of both of these. Definitely the Mother's Milk. You do like an Imperial barrel age version. I don't think I've had that, but I don't know. Anyway, this is great. 4.35 personal, 4.75 for the style. Just put it this way. If you're in New York State and you're in the mood for a 5% milk stout, check that one out. I don't think you can go wrong. Now, as far as the Joe Mama's milk, first time I had this, I gave this like a 3.75, 3.8. Last time I posted on Tap, I gave it a 4. This is going up a little bit. I am going to give Joe Mama's milk. I'll give it a, you know what? I'll give it a 4.2, a low 4.25. I think a 4.2 is a fair score. It's definitely almost a quarter rating point better than what I remember this being 9 years ago. If not for that green pepper nose, I probably would put it right there at a 4.3 with the mother's milk. But as is, this is a fucking phenomenal milk. This is a phenomenal coffee milk stout or imperial coffee milk stout. It's just really, really good stuff. And I cannot recommend either of these beers enough because they are precisely what they say they are. But be forewarned, if you see this on the shelf, no bottle on date, you don't know how old it is, the green pepper might take over in the taste at some point with this beer. Just got to be honest with you. So we do have the cuvee coming. I brought an extra glass, but fuck it. There's only a little bit in each one. I'm going to mix it up and we're going to see how it is. I don't know how much better this is going to be or even if it's going to be better. I'm going to say probably not. Probably be good, but I don't know if it's going to be better. So we're going to give it a nice mixture here and then do a little quick review of it. I got to first, though, however, cleanse the palate as you do with a cuvee. All right, so what does it look like in the glass? Okay, well, I'll tell you what. That looks like a beautiful, beautiful milk stout of some sort. It just does. It has about a finger of a. I didn't even look at the. You know what? I don't even know if I looked at either beer on their own. Whatever. The Beer Patrol doesn't give a fuck. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But as is, it looks pretty nice in this glass. It has like a darker, I'd say, like brown color, about a finger, a little bit of finger over, super creamy head. I would say that's like a mocha colored head. Looks beautiful. That's kind of what both beers look like. All right, that's what we're gonna say. They really didn't. This was a little bit lighter than that one. That's all you need to know. I'm just gonna just sniff. I'm gonna sniff and taste it. Fuck it. Wow. Oh, I think that's better than both of them on their own. Holy shit, what? Listen, if you can get bottles of this and you're in New York, do the cuvee, mix them together. This is better than both of them on their own. What's awesome is the nose. I'm not getting the green pepper and I'm not getting the metallic. It's like they kind of cancel each other out, so the aroma is instantly better. Somehow the body and mouthfeel the body is still like higher side of medium body, but the mouthfeel is even creamier. And the taste is mocha. It's sweet, creamy mocha. It's coffee, it's chocolate, a little bit of roasted malt. It has more of a dry finish than a bitter finish somehow. 4.5 out of 5 for the cuvee. I'm going to drink both of these. I think, together. You know what I'm doing, though? A little bit of a cheat here. I'm going to pour in the glass because I just don't feel good about it. I just don't feel good that I fucked up not looking at the color of either of these. I'm pretty pissed off about that, honestly. So what I'm going to do is I want to show you the appearance. Hey, when you do a beer review on the good old YouTubes and you're on the Beer Patrol, you got to make sure, since I'm mixing these together anyway, because the cuvee is better than both individually, I don't give a shit. But let's finish this off by showing you the appearance way out of order. So I like doing the side-by-side, so we'll do a little bit of a swirl here, a little bit of a swirl here. How do these beers look? Fucking fantastic. So yeah, doing this and holding them side-by-side up, yeah, this is a little bit lighter. So the Joe Mama's milk is more of like I'd say like a straight-on brown, where this is a dark brown. Both heads are pretty much same color. It's a mocha color. Bigger head with this one. I poured them pretty much the same. You can see through them a little bit at the base. But yeah, beautiful looking beers as a whole. But I just had to do that, for my own sanity for the most part. I don't know why I'm showing you guys. Like I thought both of them have. I don't know. This is a fucking terrible review. Whatever. It's the Beer Patrol. But yeah, they both look beautiful. So I'm gonna shut this one down. Last thing we got to talk about, price point availability. Where I picked these up, I think I paid like $2.49 for that bottle, like $2.99 for that bottle. However, on their website, $11 a 6-pack for the base, $11 a 4-pack for the imperialized version. Both great price points. You're talking less than $2 a bottle for this, and I think this is a world-class or approaching world-class milk stout. And then the imperialized version, you're talking about what, $2.75 a bottle, like for an 8% coffee milk stout, like all day, every day. So shout out to Keegan Ales. Like, I haven't heard much about them in many years. When I saw these, they just conjure, like, again, I was in the summer of 2014. I'm like, doing a little bit of beer shopping, and I see both these, and instantly I was transported back to like 2010, 2011. I'm like, holy shit, Keegan Ales. I haven't seen them in so long. And to be able to do this review was a lot of fun, even though it was an absolutely fucking horrific review, which I do apologize for, but it is the Beer Patrol. If you watch the channel, you know this isn't fucking, I'm an amateur beyond an amateur, even though I have like, 2,200 reviews on the channel. I don't know what I'm doing most of the time. Let's just be fucking honest. But I like paying homage to these old school breweries, especially old school smaller breweries in New York State. My stomping grounds, it is what it is. So availability of Keegan Ales shit, I could not tell you. Probably New York State. I don't think they get outside of New York State. If they do, and somebody out there has had either of these beers or anything from Keegan Ales, let me know. But again, I haven't seen these in the Buffalo area in a long time, let alone the West New York area. So it's really cool. Now, if I see more from them, maybe I'll pick up the Hurricane Kitty, or if I see anything else from them, especially if I know it's fresh, I'm going to definitely check out some more of their stuff. So if you've had either of these beers before, please post in the comment section. I know there's a lot of people from New York State that watch. If you're an old school, craft beer drinker like myself from like the late 2000s, early 2010s, and you had either of these beers, I would love to hear your thoughts on them in the past, and if you've had them recently, because I'll be honest with you, I didn't think they were going to hold up to my memory, and I think this beer has, and this beer is even better than I remember it, and I'm having trouble comprehending what's fucking happening as we speak. So I'm going to shut this one down. Huge thanks to everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. I'm going to go mix these together, drink the rest of them as a cuvee, because the cuvee is delicious, and enjoy the rest of my night. To the next one. Cheers. I talked about the ABV already. Ready? Both of them, you can't even tell. That's impressive. 8%, you can't even tell. I don't know. Shut it down. Cheers.